Welcome to the Raising Smart Kids podcast. I'm your host, Yang Pratt, and each week we'll explore ways in which the arts can help you raise a smarter kid. I'll be sharing ways the arts can propel your child's learning and interviewing top artists, educators, and entrepreneurs. These guests will share why the arts are so very important to your child, along with actionable ideas you can easily implement into your already busy schedule. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast here on iTunes and share us with a friend. For extra tips on raising smart kids, head on over to artsmartparenting.com and click on the Live tab. Welcome back to the Raising Smart Kids 2.0 podcast. I'm your host, Yang Pratt, and your partner in this amazing journey into parenting through the arts. Today's guest is Vincent Jame, and Vincent was actually he's a repeat podcast guest, which I'm so excited. He's the second one in the history of his podcast, so it's so much fun to welcome him back to the show. Thank you for being here.
Oh, you're welcome, Jan. Thanks so much for inviting me. This is awesome.
So just for those of you listening, Vincent was on episode 58 of the podcast. So in the show notes over at the website, we will actually link up that previous podcast episode so you can listen to that one and then listen to this one, because he has so much good stuff to share about an upcoming event that I wanted to devote the entire episode just to this event. So you can find out more about him in episode 58. So let's dive right in. So can you tell us, you have a big event, a big national event coming up in October, and it's going to be amazing. Tell us more about that.
Yes. Well, this October, Friday, October 6th, our organization, which is Keep Music Alive, is celebrating the second annual Kids Music Day. And this is a holiday that we created in order to have a way to put the message out there to the public and to the media of how important we think that music education is to children's upbringing and all the different aspects it helps them improve in their lives, whether it's the educational, doing better in their test scores, building confidence, self-discipline, teamwork, you name it. So with this holiday, we partner with music schools all around the country, and actually this year all around the world, to hold different events and promotions to help celebrate Kids Music Day. They're doing everything from open houses, student music performances, instrument donation drives, instrument petting zoos. Some of them are even, if they happen to be closed that weekend, they're doing house cam concerts where their students at their school are performing on video and streaming it out live, from home or a local coffee house or wherever they happen to be at, and tagging it with Kids Music Day to show that they're celebrating and supporting the holiday and the cause that we're all really about, is bringing more music to more kids.
And what an awesome mission. I just want to point out that last year was the first annual event, and it was a national event. Yes. Now you're saying in the second annual, it's an international event, which is such a huge undertaking. So congratulations, first of all, for that.
Thank you. Yeah, we're very excited. This year we have, most of the schools are in the U.S., but we have some in Canada, we have some in the U.K., and 3 or 4 other countries that are coming online. It's going to build gradually. I'm sure when they first came out with, Columbus Day, people didn't have their sales at Kmart the first year.
Yeah.
So it's building gradually, and we're very excited.
So I love this one because it's about the kids and it's about the music and using music to unite people who are around the globe. And I just think it's such a brilliant message, and it's so, so needed, especially as kids, they're having to go through more struggles and challenges because of the advent of social media. On the one hand, they're trying to live up to these crazy, insane expectations, not really understanding that what they're seeing online is sort of like the fake persona. It's what
not real life.
It's not real life. So to be able to bring them real life experiences where they can connect with other people, whether it's locally through a local music school, or like you said, when they're doing the webcam recordings, they're able to connect with people across the country who share their same passion, and then everyone can be excited and celebrate one another. How amazing.
Yeah, music is definitely something that can help bring us all closer together, and it really needs to start as kids. And this is
Yes.
where we learn that we're all really the same, whether we're in Pennsylvania, Nevada,
Yeah.
Ireland, Africa, it doesn't matter where we come from, what we look like. We're all human,
Mhm.
and music is one of those things that can really help to bring us together.
Absolutely. And music is so important, especially now, too, when there's not a lot of it happening in schools anymore. So
Yeah,
kids aren't getting the access to music like they used to. So with you guys coming in to bring this event and bringing it to the forefront of our attention, with the media and with just, getting kids to understand, like you said, that music connects us all. And in light of all the recent political craziness, I mean, this is the one thing where we can say, we have this in common. So let's take this commonality and move forward together and see what great things we can create together.
no, absolutely, absolutely.
So I want to talk a little bit about the benefits of music. You talked about them a little bit in the beginning, and you talked about how music can help kids academically. And I really want to dive into this topic a little bit more because I know for some parents listening, when they think about music, it doesn't necessarily equate to them thinking their kids are doing better in school. So
Right.
how does it help kids in the academic arena?
Well, I think what they've discovered through research is that playing music is one of the few activities we can do as humans that actually utilizes both sides of our brain, the left and right side, and forces them to communicate together. And it helps build bridges between the two sides. So, and those bridges, as they're connecting and building up more connections, they're actually helping kids in other subjects, whether math or science, language, English. The research has shown in the studies that the kids that have music education for at least a few years, they perform better in those other subjects that the schools and the government are all trying to save and maintain and do better in. So by cutting the arts, you're kind of cutting out the part that's going to really help them. And I realize there's always going to be budget concerns, but I think we need to pay more attention. And maybe even in some schools are bringing in classes or bringing music into the classroom again, and using it that way, which I think is also a valuable
Yes.
tool to use. And it was something that was done a lot more back, whether it was the 60s and 70s, 1960s and 1970s, for those who aren't sure what I'm talking about. It was different. It's funny, an interesting thing. I discovered that teachers, when they went to school to be teachers back in the 40s, 50s, and 60s, and maybe even the 70s, it was required that they learned how to play an instrument,
Fascinating.
piano or the
Mm.
guitar. I think it might even have been the piano. And for the reason being, so when they went to teach, whether it was elementary school, junior high school back then, high school, they had that music ability to bring into their classroom. And that requirement for teachers to become a teacher, has long since passed, which is unfortunate. But that was kind of
Yeah.
like an eye-opening moment for me. That's how important music used to be in this culture. I mean, so many people in their house, I don't know the percentage, had a piano in their house growing up. It was very common. You didn't have TV.
Right.
At one point, you didn't have radio, but many people had a piano, and that's how you heard music. Somebody playing the piano in the house, and you had people that would go door to door selling sheet music, traveling the country. And this is how, culture was shared throughout. And now we have the internet and push a button and do anything we want. But
Yeah.
which there are certainly many benefits to that. But the drawback is, we're not starting at home in the basics, of teaching kids, in the home music like it would have been taught, by mom or dad, or in the schools starting out. And I think it's definitely, so rounding back to your original question, the kids will do better in school and their tests, and it's going to help prepare them for college, which is what parents are really concerned about. What are my
Yeah.
kids going to do when they grow up and they get out of high school? How are they going to get the best jobs? How are they going to get into the best colleges? And music is one way that's going to help them get there where they want to go.
And I couldn't agree with you more. And like you said, the fact that music can use both parts of the brain really is so eye-opening, because if, when kids are kids, they should learn to be kids, and it's through music they can still be a kid, but yet involve their whole brain and start opening their eyes to more opportunities. And, music and the arts I love because it gives kids an opportunity to be problem solvers. Because maybe the
Yes.
chord they played didn't work, but maybe if they adjust it, it sounds better to them. But they learn to be flexible and adaptable, and just always thinking about, the next step and how
Yes.
they can achieve the next step. Even if they don't have the skills they need right now, they know through lessons that, okay, with a little bit of practice, we can get there eventually. So it's fascinating that I didn't know that in the 70s or 60s or 40s that teachers had to learn an instrument
Yes.
to
I
become
was
a
I
classroom
was blown
teacher.
away when I heard that.
Yeah, and that's so interesting. I can just imagine, my mind is going to a classroom right now and thinking, oh my gosh, how much fun would a classroom be if during times when the kids are a little bit more stressed out or amped up, the teacher could pull out the guitar or the recorder or whatever instrument they play and just play, and let the kids just do things when there's music happening, and letting them enjoy rather than always feeling like, okay, what's the next thing, and having these, very quiet classrooms or chaotic classrooms that are not helping them to focus or not helping to develop their whole brain.
Right, right. Yeah, music definitely helps teach them kids to focus. And I love the creative part that you mentioned a moment ago, and that music is a safe way for kids to learn how to be creative. And these creative skills that they're going to build are going to help them be the future doctors, scientists, inventors, and help create the future of our world, our society.
Yes.
It's no secret, and it's no coincidence that many of the world's greatest scientists, inventors, and doctors uh, were musicians. I mean, the music that they learned as a child and all that creative process they went through helped them develop the parts of the
Yeah.
brain that led them to eventually make many of these great discoveries, invent many great inventions. Einstein is just one example, but there are many. And he knew how important music was. And, throughout his whole life, it's said that he played the piano every
Mm.
single day, piano or the violin, every single day he would
Wow.
play. And he would do it to release his mind, let his mind wander. I mean, he would play classical pieces, but he would also just play around and noodle around and just let his mind kind of wander. And these ideas of how to solve problems that he was working on would come to him. I mean, that was his form of meditation. It was basically a musical meditation that helped
Yeah.
create many of the discoveries that he came upon.
That's brilliant. And I'm learning so much amazing new information today. Thank you for sharing all that. But I think you hit it there, where it was his musical meditation, where he entered into this state of flow, if you will. And I talked about that on a previous podcast as well, where
Hmm.
when you're engaged in an activity, usually a creative one, time can just slip away and
Yes.
hours can pass. But it's in that time when you're in that flow state where all these new creative ideas emerge, and the best inventions and the best creations come from that time, when it seems from the outside that the brain is maybe relaxed, but really it's at its most creative because you're allowing it to be relaxed and not stressed out and let things just happen. I love
Yes.
that.
It's very important.
Absolutely. So if there are listeners out there who don't have a musical instrument in their house, what
Right.
would you suggest to them to get them started on this musical journey?
Well, there are many different ways. I mean, the nowadays you can pick up a keyboard, even like a almost a full size 61 key keyboard for about $100, or beginner ukulele probably about $40-$50.
Mm-hmm.
I encourage them, maybe go in with a friend if that's too much. Uh, Find a way to find a place where you can get it to a keyboard, or borrow a guitar or ukulele. And the one wonderful thing about technology, one of the many things, is that we now have literally thousands, if not millions, of YouTube
Mhm.
tutorials on how to learn how to play almost any instrument under the sun.
Right.
I mean, when I had to quick learn how to play the ukulele over the summer for a video thing that I was doing, I mean, I went right to YouTube and just like, okay, where's the chord? Because I had played guitar for decades.
Mhm.
Chords are all different on the ukulele.
Yes.
So
Yes.
I had all this muscle memory I had to kind of unlearn temporarily so I could play the half a dozen chords on the ukulele and do it live for a live video and not
Mhm.
feel foolish. But just the fact, when I was growing up, the only way we could learn something was you had the record player, you put the record on, you put the needle on it, and you let it play. You fumbled around trying to find the notes, and then when those 4 minutes are up, you pick the needle up and you did it again. And you
Right.
did it again. I mean, I learned to play, Show Me the Way by Peter Frampton on the guitar that way, literally just playing it on the record, the album over and over and over. And it's amazing that album survived that. But now with the technology today, kids can utilize many of these tutorials that are online. If they have a friend that knows how to play an instrument,
Mhm.
ask if they'll come over and show you a few chords just to get you started. And one really cool thing is now also online to say, you're wanting to learn how to play the piano or guitar, and your favorite song is XYZ by Beyonce. I know that's not a real song by Beyonce, but I'm just throwing. And you just Google the song, her name, and chords, and there are the chords. And once your friend teaches you some of the
Mhm.
basic chords, which really is just a half hour, an hour, you can sit there and start to play, one of your favorite songs and sing along. And then the bug has really bitten you.
Right.
This is exactly what our daughter did. Is I taught her a few chords on the piano because she never really wanted to take formal lessons or have trying to sit down at the piano for more than 10 minutes. It just didn't happen. She didn't want to do it, but once she realized she could just learn a couple chords that I showed her, and then next thing you know, she's got her cell phone up on the piano, bringing up chords, bringing up songs and chord charts, and playing them and singing along. And for her, music is a fun activity that helps expand her mind, helps her relax,
Yeah.
helps her kind of get away from all the troubles of the world or whatever's going on in her life at that time. So either try to get your hands on an inexpensive instrument,
Mhm.
borrow one from a friend, ask a friend to come over and show you a few things. Many schools still do have a piano somewhere
Yeah.
in the school, not as many pianos as they used to, but just try to find a way where you can, get a hold of an instrument where you can play on a semi-regular basis
Yes.
and, see what the beauty of learning music does for you, does for them. And, I think once they start, I've never met an ex-musician, somebody who said, "Oh, I don't, I used to play." People say that, but it's really still in there, and they could
Right.
do it again. It is kind of like riding a bike, but more fun in my mind because you're not going to crash.
Well, right. Well, and I think sometimes for adults too, even if they played as a kid, they forget how much they enjoyed it, and they just see that it might take some work and some effort to do it, so they often just
Yes,
don't jump back in. But
that's
for
right.
those people who do jump back in, I think they quickly come to realize that something had been missing for a while and they maybe couldn't put their finger on it. But when they come back to a lesson, and we love working with our adult students who come back in, and it's fascinating to watch them because, like you said, it's like riding a bike. So they have these skills that were kind of dormant for a while or in
Right.
hibernation. And with a little bit of instruction, I mean, it comes back quickly and they're able to accelerate and really just take their learning so much further. And, they really start to come to enjoy it at a different level, as an adult than they did as a kid. So I think,
Yes.
like you said, there's a wealth of information available so quickly within seconds of typing something into Google. You can
Right.
pull up something and learn something. And then definitely I would recommend that at some point, bringing on a professional, bringing on a mentor or a teacher who can
Absolutely.
really
Yes.
take you to that next step. Because I know that from personal experience, when I learn to do things sometimes by watching the videos, I'll pick up the bad habits of maybe the person who taught me, not
Right.
knowing the bad habit at the time. Then when I go to learn some more, it's pointed out. I think, oh, wait, that's not how I learned it. So then having to unlearn those things. So if
Right.
we can insert a teacher in there partway through and to kind of just help push us and take us to that next level. Because I know sometimes when I set out to do something, if there's not someone, there saying, hey, did you do this? Or did you make that next step happen? It's
Right.
sometimes easy just to stay right there and stay comfortable and
Stay in
stay
our
in
comfort
that
zone.
zone where
Yes.
it's, it feels good, but there's not any new learning happening. So
Right.
definitely we want to make sure we're always continuing to learn. So awesome tips.
Yeah. Having a mentor and learning anything, a teacher
Yes.
is definitely will help you get there faster for where you want to
Mhm.
go. And the online stuff is something, if you're looking for an inexpensive way to get started. So the two
Yeah.
definitely go hand in hand.
Yeah, absolutely. Hand in hand. I love that too, that you can do the free YouTube stuff. We just want to make sure that we're paying attention to who it is we're following and make sure they're a credible
Yes.
source. And then finding a local mentor who can really kind of get us to go to that next level. I think, yeah, it's a beautiful partnership to have all those pieces in place.
And there are music teachers literally in every town. Every town,
Yes.
almost any instrument you want to learn, whether it's a music school or an independent teacher. If you ask around, you'll find people that are out there teaching kids and adults every day.
Yes. Absolutely. And I think, for the adults listening right now too, I think again, being able to either return to lessons and do it with your